Hi, Pilates friends. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Andrea, and I love the Pilates Method of Exercise. And if you've been here before, thank you so much for coming back. If you're new, this channel is all about taking the exercises we get from Joe Pilates and using them to benefit our own bodies and also the bodies of clients if you are a teacher. And today's blog post takes us to the long stretch series. And this is a request from a YouTube subscriber, Kate White. Thank you so much for this question, Kate. She noticed that my foot bar is naked, and she sort of wanted a video explaining why my foot bar was like that, what the benefits are, if it causes any problems. So I'm going to do sort of the pros and cons. And keep in mind that, it kind of depends on who you ask. There are a lot of opinions out there on whether your foot bar should be padded or not, depending on who you are. And I encourage you to use it in your own practice, find it in your own body, and then decide what you think before teaching it to others if you're a teacher. So here we go. I'm going to just share a little bit about my journey to the naked foot bar. I did all of my original training in a studio that had classically retrofitted balanced body reformers. There was a thick pad on the foot bar. I moved to California. I kept doing Pilates. I went to a Romanos Pilates studio. There was a big pad on the foot bar. I did Romanos Pilates teacher training with a padded foot bar. And pretty much that's just how it was. I didn't know there was anything different or any other choice. And then when I got to vintage Pilates and started studying with Jay Grimes, that's when the foot bar got naked. and I continued to use the foot bar without the pad when I was in Jay's studio at Vintage Pilates, and other studios that had a similar situation. My home studio still had my original Gratz reformer with a big pad on the foot bar. And I kind of went back and forth between using other people's reformers and keeping mine the same until I got to the point where the reason that I'm going to talk about why I like the naked foot bar, until that kind of situation annoyed me to the point where I took it off. And I just removed the thick pad of the Gratz foot bar. There was a bunch of really strong industrial glue that kind of was holding it in place. And I used some Goo Gone to kind of take all of that residue off. It wasn't a gleaming, pristine foot bar underneath because it had been covered and glued and whatever, but it was perfectly fine. So if that turns out to be something that you want to do, it is totally possible. And I'm going to get into alternative covers that might not produce such a thick pad in a moment. But let's get back to why you might decide you want to do it in the first place and live with your naked foot bar. So not that I want Pilates to be painful, but there is something to be said for if something in your extremity, let's say your foot, works more than your stomach. So initially, if you try this and you feel a lot of disc pain in your feet, you might want to see and investigate what's happening with your body that's on the carriage. Maybe that could do more help working in the center to move the platform that you're on. Instead of pushing into the bar with your feet. And you could investigate that by simply just taking springs off. If you normally work on 4 springs or 3 springs, I'm talking about footwork initially, you might see what it feels like in your stomach and in your feet on 2 springs or even 1 spring, because that probably will give you a lot of information about what's working optimally, too much, not enough in the exercise. So that's sort of one thing, that it might be a clue that something else should be coming to the party to help you if your feet are on the bar. The other thing I'll mention is that it is true. It is a thing that often hereditarily or as we age, perhaps the padding on the bottoms of the feet is not as sumptuous, shall we say, as people get older. This is individual. No 2 people are alike. So if that is the case, I am not without mercy. If someone, if I try let's see if your stomach can work and it's still painful, there are various options for traction as well as padding. So not adding any bulk to the foot bar, there is a sort of a grippy, very thin pad, especially good for sweaty hands and feet. It doesn't add any bulk, but it does give you traction and safety, which is, most important. And this alternative to the thick pad on the foot bar, this is made by Gratz Industries. This part is designed to go on, of course, this part of the foot bar, but it also came with 2 little Velcro sleeves for the sides. So it takes up the same kind of places that the thick pad took up, but it doesn't have any bulk. And again, it's good for people who wear socks that don't have grips on it. It doesn't add bulk, and it does keep the traction and safety factor. So I do use this for certain people who like to wear socks and their socks don't have grips on them. So this has been very helpful. And then the other choice is to have an actual little bit of a padded pad. That's a little redundant, but still not as thick as the thick pad that comes on the foot bar. So if it is painful, you can put a little bit of cushioning on the metal bar for those that might need it. But I suspect that it may be an extreme case that will feel pain and need a lot of care and padding in this department. But that's just my opinion. So that's the foot part of the naked foot bar. But the most important part, I find, is the connection that you can get when your hands are on the foot bar. And this week's blog post is about the long stretch series, and this is really where the naked foot bar, I find, really shines. There's other things too, tendon stretch, snake twist, other things where you're dealing with the foot bar. But for the long stretch series, I'm just gonna, and actually also the knee stretches, the ability to have a long wrist, the strength of your grip spread all across your hand from the smallest fingers all the way to the index finger and the thumb, so that you use the foot bar and this solid piece of apparatus to connect to recruit the bigger muscles on the back of you. So that as you're doing, let's say, the knee stretches or the elephant, you end up with a nice long and lifted position rather than being parked on your wrist and being heavy on the bar. And sometimes with the thick pad, especially if your hands are small, it's kind of hard to get that length in the wrist. And so that's really what I feel serves you so well with the naked foot bar, is just getting the whole hand to work and all the muscle systems that correspond to the pinky side of the hand and the back, and getting everything kind of balanced back to front in those long stretch series exercises and the knee stretch series. So that is sort of my point of view on why you might want your foot bar to be naked. And as I say, try it out for yourselves. It's not for everyone. It may not be for everyone, but you should decide based on how you feel and what you find to be valuable in that solution, let's say. And if you have questions or any aspect of the foot bar, padded or not padded, that I did not mention, let's have a chat about it in the comments below. If you are in your studio and you can share your experience with having taken the pad off the foot bar or using the foot bar with all kinds of clients, I would love to hear your experience if you also have a foot bar like this. Likewise, if you've tried it, it's not for you, let's have a little discussion. I'm sure we'd all benefit from everyone's experience. Thank you so much for watching. Do read the blog post. It's in the box below. I'll also leave a link to my online classes. If you want to bring your naked foot bar or your padded foot bar into my class, we can talk about it more specifically for your body. and have a great workout today. We're still in the throes of March Madness if you're watching in real time. So have a great, I think today is corkscrew day. I hope you're having a great workouts on the mat all month long. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you. Love you guys. Bye.